The bankruptcy filing arrives just weeks after the company announced it would cancel its flagship Vice News Tonight program amid a wave of layoffs.
Now that American soldiers have all but left Afghanistan, the UN warns the Taliban maintains close ties to al-Qaeda, and the country could once again become a breeding ground for international terrorists.
Known for some pretty impressive investigative journalism pieces.
Well, this is the tunnel that Joaquin and Chapo Guzman came out of. We're gonna go down and take a closer look. Let's go check it out, guys.
Vice News announcing today that it is filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and will sell its assets to lenders in exchange for $225 million US in credit. The company promising that during the sale, its media brands will continue to produce content and employees and vendors will keep getting paid. In a statement, Vice's co-CEOs said the accelerated court-supervised sale process will strengthen the company and position it for long-term growth, thereby safeguarding the kind of authentic journalism and content creation that makes Vice such a trusted brand. The bankruptcy filing arrives just weeks after the company announced it would cancel its flagship Vice News Tonight program, amid a wave of layoffs expected to impact more than 100 of the company's 1,500-person workforce. The company also said it would end its Vice World News brand. There has been a wider surge of media layoffs and closures, including job cuts at Gannett, NPR, The Washington Post, and other organizations. In April, BuzzFeed announced that its Pulitzer Prize-winning digital media outlet BuzzFeed News was being shut down due to cost cutting. And just last week, MTV News announced it was shuttering operations after 36 years, blaming layoffs. Vice's original punk magazine launched in Montreal back in 1994, before moving to New York and building itself into a global media company. It developed a reputation for in-your-face journalism, covering daring stories that particularly resonated with new, young audiences.
That's how we ran around, man. We putting the real guns up, picking the paintballs up, you know what I'm saying? We ran around sliding on everybody. Stop the violence, man.
Vice's assets also include film and TV production, an in-house marketing agency, and brands such as Refinery 29 and Unbothered. But the media company has struggled to turn around profits in recent years. Today's filings show that Vice has a total outstanding debt of $834 million US. So what's happening to the digital media industry? Joining us to discuss more is magazine, news, and digital journalism professor Joel Kaplan. Professor, we've seen successful news organizations like Vice, BuzzFeed, and MTV take some pretty big hits in the past month. What do you think is hurting these companies?
Well, I think the other shoe has dropped, right? I mean, we spent so many times in the last decade or 2 decades talking about the end of legacy media, the end of newspapers, the end of print magazines, the end of local news, television news, because the digital space is where it's all at. And people piled not millions, but billions of dollars into these digital spaces. And guess what? They have the same problem that legacy media has, which is that, well, they're getting some eyeballs and they're getting people reading their content, but they're not really willing to pay for it. And advertisers aren't willing to advertise if they're not going to see a return on investment.
And it's not always just business. How are news consumers' habits changing in this day and age?
Oh my God, there's so much competition for your eyeballs, right? There's your phone, there's your friends, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's Google, there's Netflix, there's all the streamers, right? There's only 24 hours in the day and people actually either have to go to school or they have to go to work. So yeah, I mean, people just find their own comfort zone. They find their friends' comfort zone. They also want to go to bars maybe and meet people or go to baseball games or watch baseball games. So there's just so much time. And in the old days, maybe it was a slower type of thing. You'd go to work, you'd come home, everyone would watch the evening news together. There'd only be a few stations, so we'd all watch our favorite shows together. None of that. Now people are lucky if their kids even come to the dinner table. And if they do come to the dinner table, they're on their phones.
And of course, I'm sure you're used to it, and here at Trending Now, we're all too familiar with the statement, news is a dying medium. What do you say to combat that assessment?
Well, I'm kind of sad right now because for a long time, my students weren't going out there and working at legacy media, right? But I kind of said, that's okay. They're getting jobs at BuzzFeed. They're getting jobs at Gawker. They're getting jobs at Vice News, and they were getting really good jobs. And now those are going away, right? The jobs are going away. I mean, the platform still might be there at a lower level, but a lot of those jobs are gone. My sense, though, is that people still value good storytelling, right? And so you have good storytelling on radio, you have great storytelling on television, even in print and online. You have multimedia storytelling, right? The question, though, is to find that financial model that works for everybody. And I think that's the struggle right now. And we're trying different things. We really did. I think people thought Gawker and BuzzFeed and Vice were the future. I think we're scaling back a little bit. But at the same token, if we look at New York Times, Washington Post, NPR, they're doing pretty well. People are kind of gravitating toward those good stories, those really good stories. And by the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, Vice Media started in Canada. So you guys have to take some of the blame for this.
Fair enough. Thanks so much for joining us, Professor Kaplan.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it, and good luck.